So I want to continue the discussion on shipping, and I wanted a whiteboard, so I came downstairs. Now, the last video I talked about what countries we ship to and the reasons for it. Now, another question you might ask yourself is, suppose when you're selling something, you calculate that you need that much money, however much money that is. This is how much money you need. Question is, do you split that up by charging this whole amount for the item and free shipping, or do you charge that much shipping and this much for the item, or do you charge that much shipping and that much for the item? In all three cases, or in every case, the grand total is going to be the same. Which one are you going to do? And that's an interesting question. And it's a moving target, is what I found. And not only is it a moving target, when I say moving target, it varies over time. People's tastes vary and their expectations. In the very early days of ecomm, if you'll remember, people punted on shipping. They'd say things like on their website, for orders up to $50, shipping is $5. For $50 to $100, shipping is $10. For $100 to $150, shipping is $15, or something like that. They did a simple little thing that was easy to calculate, and they punted. They basically punted. And our website was one of the very first, I think, ecomm, one of the early ecomm sites that actually charged actual shipping. And I wrote the code for that, and I embedded the shipping tables into the website, and we charged actual shipping. And it was pretty good. It was pretty accurate. To charge actual shipping, the website needed to know what everything weighed. And one of the problems we had is kits. One particular kit, whether it's a honey kit, for example, this honey kit versus that honey kit, they don't weigh the same, is what we found. We tried to get very precise with our weighings and have the website know precisely, and have it come up with an estimate on the box and know what the box weighed and so forth, so it could charge actual shipping. And it was pretty good. But like I say, the biggest problem that we found was the kits varied. If you've ever seen videos of the manufacturers making the kits, what you'll see them do is they'll have this little spray thing to spray vinyl, and they'll spray the vinyl just by hand into each of the metal molds. They'll go through them as a series, and these metal molds will be mounted in a frame, so they'll do that by hand, and nothing precise about it. And then they'll put the cap on each of the molds, and they'll put it in the oven, the rotational molding oven, and it will run for 8 to 10 minutes at maybe 650, 675 degrees, and turn very slowly in both directions, both axes, as it does that. And it bakes the vinyl, and then they pull it out and they'll move it to a cooling station, which for vinyl dolls is usually nothing but a vat of water. So they'll do that, but my point there is that manual spraying the vinyl in, it's not gonna be consistent, and that's what we found. You take the whole kit, the head, arms, and legs. One might weigh, and I don't remember now what the tip. Let's say one weighed 22. One honey kit weighed 22.2 ounces. Another one might weigh 20 ounces, and another one might weigh 23 ounces. It varied, and that's part of why we went through our inspection, is because sometimes the variance resulted in thin vinyl, and it wasn't passable, it wasn't usable. And so, but anyway, we did do actual shipping. It was pretty good at it, but it was a bit of a problem. Doing actual shipping too, though, one of the problems we hit is an international customer would add a pair of eyelashes to their cart. That's the only thing in their cart. And it's quoting them $35 shipping for a pair of eyelashes. Well, yeah, that's what it costs to ship to their country. Well, how come that much? Isn't there a cheaper way to ship and so forth? Okay, let me talk about that a little bit. We ship, what we found, if you look at let's see, this is dollars that way, and this is the weight of the package. So this is how much it costs to ship. And if you look at like USPS, you'll get a curve kind of like this. You look at UPS, the curve will be something like this. And FedEx, the curve will again be something like that. So there's this pivot point where any package that weighs less than that, USPS is the cheapest way to go. And it still is, I've looked at it. If you get above that pivot point, then either UPS or FedEx is the cheapest. Now, what we found, and so the question is what's that pivot point? That pivot point is right around 15 to 17 pounds. And what that means is that most of our packages are in USPS territory. That's the cheapest way to ship for us. Now, if you're shipping completed dolls that you've reborn, you might be up in this territory, and it might be better to do UPS or FedEx. Now, if you're shipping internationally, something else we found, and we kind of played Russian roulette with this one deliberately, but anytime we shipped UPS, for example, internationally, there was always a duty charge. It always happened. When we shipped, and so the customer had to pay that duty fee. And it wasn't, and we don't know, you don't know what the duty's gonna be for some foreign country customer, some out there. You have no idea what their regulations are and their duty charges, and it's not reasonable for you to track that. That has to be the responsibility of the buyer. But what we found is when we shipped USPS, most of the packages went through without a duty charge. UPS, they all had a duty charge. USPS, it was kind of random. Sometimes there'd be one, sometimes there wouldn't, but the majority didn't have a duty charge. So that's another reason why we went USPS. It was unpredictable. Sometimes an international customer would get hit with a duty fee. Sometimes they always would for that customer, and I have no idea why. Other customers would never get hit with the fee. Again, I have no idea why, but I figured having most of the orders not get hit with a duty charge and having it random which ones are going to get hit is better than making sure that they all get hit with a duty charge. And that's what would happen with UPS or FedEx is what we found. They all got hit with duty charge. So, okay, the next thing, well, why don't we ship international priority instead of express international express? And what we found there is customers want their order yesterday. And in fact, talking about that, Amazon is a huge, guys, they are putting a ton of competitive pressure. You really need to think about this because they're setting up distribution centers in all the major cities. There's one in Salt Lake now, there's one in most of the major cities. You can do an Amazon Prime order and get it delivered same day a lot of times. Now, how are you going to compete with that? It is very, very scary. So that means you have to ship, you need to ship immediately. Customers want it yesterday. And they often don't understand what the holdup is when it gets held up in customs. And if you go through, if it gets held up in customs, then that creates a customer service problem where they're emailing and you got to have a customer, an employee handling the emails and the complaints and back and forth, and it adds to the overhead. One of the things I've tried to do with Bountiful Baby is put everything to an absolute minimum overhead so that we could handle the maximum volume with the minimum number of employees. And that would give us the greatest growth potential too. So I really look seriously about anything that adds overhead. And along those lines, I keep jumping around, but I hope you're okay with that. When we moved away from our own in-house written software and moved to Shopify, we had been evaluating a lot of these ecomm platforms for many years. In fact, we had created in-house several versions of the Bountiful Baby website with Magento and with several others. We never deployed them. We were evaluating, and they all come up short. I'll give you an example with Shopify. Now, we, with the code, our own in-house written code, we would do a label with the postage, get it on the package. It'd take about 15 seconds per package. Shopify out of the box takes about 2 minutes to click all the stuff and buy postage and print label and so forth. It's about 2 minutes per order. Now we do, I don't know, 150 orders a day. That's how many, that's what, it's going to be another 250, 4 hours or so extra time just to print postage and labels, switching to Shopify. Are you kidding? We can't do that. That's one of the things I realized. So we were looking for a third-party app add-on to add to our Shopify site that would bring the shipping speed down to what we have been doing with our in-house code. And we played with a couple of them. We settled on something called Shipstation, and it's a little pricey. It costs us $100 a month just for that one app. I think it's 99 bucks just for that one app. But it's worth it. I mean, you look at like 3 hours a day time saved times 30 days. It's almost 100 hours for $100, buck an hour. When I'm paying the employees an average of, I don't know, 17, 18 bucks an hour. It's worth it. But here's the problem with Shipstation. To even use Shipstation, you have a certain amount of overhead involved. Before you can even print your first order. Then when you start printing the orders and the labels, you'll do the first one, the second, and the third, and it adds a little bit of time, down in the 15 seconds realm. It's down there. So you add on top of that. Well, if you only process 2 or 3 orders, it's not worth it, especially for the $99 a month charge. Shopify out of the box, the first order might take that long, second one that long, third one that long, fourth one that long. You can see this is still less than the initial overhead with Shipstation, the next one that long, and so forth. But you'll hit a crossover point where suddenly this one is more time efficient. And we're way past that crossover point. Whether you are or not, I don't know. Probably not. Now, we have multiple websites too. Our Kinby website, we just barely switched it over to Shipstation. We had been processing them manually. Rose, it's manual. It's not over in Shipstation, the Rose site. And our other sites, it's manual for the most part. So again, the reason is there's just not enough volume there to warrant the initial overhead that you'd get hit with. Anyway, back to shipping. So customers want their order yesterday, and how do you deal with that? Well, you know what? You have to ship. Not only do you have to ship immediately, it's in your best interest to ship it now for so many reasons. Why? Well, another one, I keep harping about overhead, but another one is the overhead. If a customer wants to make a change to the order, that's overhead. That's expensive. You know what? If you can get the order shipped, guess what? Changes can't be made. And the customer's going to like it better anyway, for the most part. Yeah, it means that once the order's placed, it's very difficult to make a change to it. but you know what? It's better all the way around. It lowers your overhead. It makes the customer happier. In the early days of Bountiful Baby, I couldn't get, no, we didn't have many employees, I couldn't impress on their minds enough the importance of shipping it now. And you know, a lot of times they think, well, ship it today or tomorrow. It's either way. You know, this is before Amazon started putting all this pressure on for fast shipping too. And I would say, no, you have to ship it now. We had a point in time where, okay, first off, this is at our old location. The regular mailman would come and pick up what we had, and then let's see, how did we do this? Later that afternoon, we weren't very far from the post office. We would drive over and dump what we had, and then later that evening, we would go over and dump it into the drop box because they picked up the drop box at 10 p.m. We would ship at least 3 times a day. And it was real nice. I don't think it sped anything up for the customer though. What it did is it got it out of our building so that changes couldn't be made. And we wanted to stay right on top of it all the time. Get it shipped now. That's been kind of hard to do lately, especially when we run sales. We'll get a couple days behind, and it really is bothersome to me, but I don't know what else to do about it. You know, you do the best you can. So, yeah, customers want it yesterday. You gotta ship immediately. And it gets hung up in customs, and they don't understand. So what can you do about that? One of the things I found, a couple of things actually. One is you compare International Priority versus International Express, and International Express obviously is faster, but one of the things that I'm convinced of is that foreign customs gave priority. When I say they gave priority, they processed the express ones faster than they processed the priority ones. So it got through customs faster, and it was by a matter of a few days usually on average. And so just in the interest of that, we made the decision to ship all international packages express regardless. And of course then what's that do? Well, it means that the cheapest shipping is going to be $30-35. No, you can't ship a pair of eyelashes that way. And they say, well, why don't you just ship it international first class? You know, if we were smaller and had less volume, for you that might work for a while, but the problem there is that, well, especially if you have low enough volume where you're processing them individually anyway. If you're doing that, you can do that. And you know what? That's a way to get a competitive advantage on your own supplies over us, because we really can't do that. If you are, remember with Shopify, if you're processing the orders individually, you can do that. But we have a system, it flows through the system, and to have an order come out of that flow for special processing is expensive. It's time consuming. We really can't do that. So yeah, it's International Express. So then we had, like I started to say, we had customers that would add a pair of eyelashes and the shipping shows $35, and then they would complain about that. And our solution to that at first was we just wouldn't show shipping until they went to checkout. Of course, a lot of customers didn't like that, and I guess I can't blame them. We fought I don't know, a public relations battle on that, wondering what to do. And I'm going to explain what we finally settled in on. Remember my initial question of, if you want this much for your item, what do? Do you charge that much and give free shipping, or do you charge this much and then that much shipping, or do you charge this much and that much shipping? All three of them end up the same. And what we did was something called A/B testing. It's real simple, guys. You split your orders in, and we split it between international and domestic. We would make a change to domestic, for example, a policy change, a shipping change. Let's say we decided to start charging something different. And for example, when we first started playing with flat rate shipping, we experimented. I'm pretty sure we did domestic first on flat rate, $7.95 flat rate. And how did we settle in on that? I'll explain that in a moment too. In the meantime, we kept the international alone. So you make a policy change and you measure what the difference is in your orders. We had a certain percentage of orders that were domestic, of our revenue that was domestic, and a certain percentage that was international. So you make the change on the domestic side, and then you watch that ratio to see how it changes. And if making that change, if you make the change on the domestic side and the ratio goes up to where the domestic revenue is higher and the domestic profit is higher as a ratio than it was before making the change, then it was a good change. And once you decide, yeah, that was a good change, then you roll it out to the other side. Roll it out to the international side. Or vice versa. Start on the international side and then roll it out on the other side. A/B testing. And that's what we did. Now, like I said, in the old days, websites had punted, up to $100, $10 shipping or whatever. And we had actual shipping. We were one of the first that did that. And it was revolutionary. A lot of people were stunned, I think. Now it's not only common, that's passe now. It doesn't mean anything anymore. But in the old original days, it was pretty progressive. And so now, and it's a moving target. The customer's expectations change, and especially Amazon comes in, and it's Amazon actually that started us investigating flat rate. Now, we do $7.95 domestic flat rate with Bountiful Baby, and again, we did this A/B testing over sections of the country to see what to zero in on. And we zeroed in on $7.95, but this is old data too. You know what? The market changes. This may not even be relevant anymore, and it definitely isn't relevant if you're shipping completed dolls. $7.95 is not the right number. What are we doing on the Kinby side? Well, we took a wild guess. We knew the $7.95 was too low. Remember the chart where I showed the weight of the item, and the crossover point was 15 to 17 pounds? Well, when you're shipping completed dolls, a lot of it's out on that side, and you should charge. Shipping that domestically is going to be about $20. What do? Well, we charge $9.95 flat rate. So yeah, we lose money. We lose money on shipping on both sides, whether it's international or domestic. But again, why? Why did we make that decision? It's back to this, guys. What I said, you charge that much free shipping, that much, and $7.95 flat rate, or this much in actual shipping, or what do? We tested it. We came up with $7.95 flat rate for domestic, $29.95 flat rate for international. We've had international orders come in for $400, $500, $600, $700, and they only paid $30, $29.95 flat rate. Obviously, we lost a ton of money on shipping, but you know what? It was worth it because of the volume. So that's the decision we made on that. So there's some more info on shipping and how and why we made decisions that we did. And again, I hope there's something useful there to you, and I will continue this later. Thank you very much.